It was snowing when I saw him. Not the pretty Christmas card kind of snow, the wet, heavy kind that turns to slush the second it hits the ground. I was leaving Whole Foods, arms full of groceries, when I spotted a familiar Honda Accord parked in the far corner of the garage. The windows were fogged up, and something made me stop. Call it mother's intuition. Call it whatever you want. But I knew that car. I walked closer, my boots echoing in the empty garage. Through the condensation on the back window, I could see someone curled up under a blanket. My heart started pounding. I knocked on the glass. The figure jerked awake, and when he turned around, I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. It was Michael, my son. My 35-year-old son who had a perfectly good apartment downtown, who worked as an engineer at a tech company, who I'd raised to stand on his own 2 feet. He looked at me through the window, and I saw something I'd never seen in my boy's eyes before. Shame. Pure, crushing shame. He unlocked the door. "Mom," he said, his voice cracking. "What are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" I set my groceries down on the concrete. "Michael, what are you doing sleeping in your car? Where's your apartment? Where's Jessica?" He wouldn't look at me, just stared at his hands. I noticed then how thin he'd gotten, how the circles under his eyes were so dark they looked like bruises. His engineer's salary was 6 figures. This didn't make sense. "I don't want to talk about it," he said. "Well, that's too bad, because we're talking about it." I climbed into the back seat
And that's
next
when I
to him,
realized
pushing aside
this wasn't
trash
just a
bags full of
story I needed
clothes.
to tell.
Start from
It
the
was a
beginning.
moment that
He was
changed
quiet for so
everything
long
for
I
me.
thought he wasn't going to answer. Then the words came pouring out. "She kicked me out 3 months ago. Said I was toxic. Said I was controlling. Said if I didn't leave, she'd call the police and tell them I'd hurt her." His voice shook. "Mom, I never touched her. I swear. But she's got 500,000 followers. Who's going to believe me over her? 3 months. My son had been homeless for 3 months, and I didn't know. I felt anger rising in my chest, hot and sharp. Where's the apartment? In her name. I was paying the rent, but she said her credit was better, so we put it in her name. Made sense at the time." He laughed bitterly. "A lot of things made sense at the time. Your money? Gone. She had access to my accounts. Said it was easier for paying bills. She'd take money out, say it was for rent, utilities, groceries. I didn't question it. Then last month I checked my savings account." He pulled out his phone with shaking hands, showed me the screen. $73. "I had $42,000 in that account, Mom. She took it all." I stared at the number. $42,000. Gone. "Her mother helped," Michael continued. "Patricia. She's a life coach, or that's what she calls herself. Really, she just tells rich people what they want to hear for $300 an hour. She convinced Jessica I was financially abusive because I questioned where the money was going. Said real men provide without asking questions. Did you go to the police? And tell them what? That I gave my girlfriend access to my accounts and now I'm mad she used it? That's not theft, Mom. That's me being an idiot." He put his head in his hands. "Besides, Jessica said if I made trouble, she'd post about me. Tell everyone I abused her. Her followers would destroy me. I'd lose my job, my reputation, everything." I sat there in that cold car, watching my son fall apart, and something inside me went very still, very calm, very dangerous. "Pack your things," I said. "You're staying with me." "Mom, I can't." "You can and you will. We're going to fix this." "You don't understand. She's too powerful. She's got hundreds of thousands of people who believe everything she says. Her mother has connections. I already talked to 2 lawyers, and they both said the same thing. Without proof of fraud, it's a civil matter at best. The money's gone." I looked at my son, sitting in the back of his car surrounded by trash bags, and I made a decision. "Michael," I said carefully, "I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago." He looked up at me, confused. "Before I became a teacher, I worked for the FBI. 23 years. White-collar crimes division. I specialized in fraud cases." His mouth fell open. "You what?" "I retired when your father got sick. Went into teaching because I wanted something quieter, but I still have friends in the bureau, and I still remember how to investigate." "Mom, you were a kindergarten teacher." "I was a lot of things, sweetheart. And right now, I'm going to be the worst nightmare Jessica and her mother have ever had. The next morning, I started making calls, first to my former partner David Chen, who'd gone private after retiring from the bureau. He owed me favors from 3 different cases that had made his career. "Sarah," he said when he picked up. "It's been what, 5 years?" "6. I need you to investigate someone, fast and quiet." I gave him Jessica's information, her social media handles, her mother's coaching business, everything Michael could remember. "The girlfriend's an influencer?" David whistled. "Those cases are tricky. Public image is everything." "I know. That's why we need to move carefully. I want financial records, phone records, any other men she might be running this scam on. If she did it to Michael, she's done it before. I'll see what I can find." The second call was to Marcus Rodriguez, an attorney who'd worked with the Bureau on dozens of fraud cases. He listened to Michael's story and was quiet for a long moment. The lawyers he talked to were right. Without evidence of intentional fraud, this is hard to prosecute. We'd need to prove she took the money with the intent to deceive and deprive him of it permanently. That's where the investigation comes in. I'm betting she's done this before. I'm betting there's a pattern. If you can prove a pattern of fraud, that changes everything. That's wire fraud, potentially. Interstate if she moved money across state lines. That's federal. I'll get you the evidence. 3 days later, David called me back. "You're going to want to sit down for this," he said. I sat. Jessica Martinez, 32 years old, 547,000 Instagram followers. 83% of them are bot accounts she purchased. Fake followers?
Welcome
paid
back,
for with
everyone.
money from a joint
Today,
account she
I
shared
want
with
to share
a
a
man
story
named
about
Derek
a moment
Thompson.
that completely
Sound familiar?
changed my perspective.
My blood went cold. She's done this before. Oh, it gets better. Derek Thompson, software developer, lost $60,000. Before him, there was James Park, financial analyst, lost $38,000. Before him, Robert Chen, dentist, lost $52,000. I found 6 men total, going back 4 years. Same pattern every time. Date for a few months, move in together, get access to accounts, drain the money, threaten to destroy their reputation if they fight back. Where are these men now? Too scared to press charges. Jessica and her mother are careful. They never take enough to trigger automatic fraud alerts. They space out the withdrawals. They make it look like normal spending. And the threat of social media destruction keeps the victims quiet. How much total? $250,000, roughly. And that's just what I could track. Could be more. I thought about my son, sleeping in his car, too ashamed to ask for help. Thought about 6 other men who'd gone through the same thing. Maybe more we didn't know about. "Can you contact the other victims?" I asked. "See if any of them kept records?" Already did. Derek Thompson kept everything. Bank statements, screenshots of messages, even recordings of Patricia coaching Jessica on how to get more money out of him. Why didn't he go to the police? Same reason as Michael. Jessica posted a tearful video about an unnamed ex who she claimed was abusive. Didn't name Derek, but her followers figured it out. He got death threats for 6 months. Lost his job because the harassment got so bad. I felt something dark and fierce bloom in my chest. This wasn't just theft. This was systematic, calculated psychological abuse. "David, I need everything you found. Every bank statement, every message, every victim who's willing to testify." "What are you planning?" "I'm planning to make sure Jessica Martinez never does this to anyone else." That night, I sat Michael down and showed him what we'd found. He went pale as he read through the evidence. "There are 6 others," he whispered. 6 other guys she did this to. That we know of. Mom, if we go after her, she's going to destroy me. She'll post about me on every platform she has. Her followers will come after my job, my friends, my whole life. Let her try. I leaned forward. "Michael, I want you to listen to me very carefully. When I worked for the FBI, I put away some of the best con artists in the country. People who thought they were untouchable because they were smart, because they were careful, because they had power. But they all made the same mistake." What mistake? They underestimated the people they hurt. Over the next 2 weeks, we built our case. David tracked down all 6 victims. 4 of them were willing to testify. Derek Thompson had kept meticulous records of every withdrawal, every lie, every manipulation. We had text messages where Patricia coached Jessica on exactly what to say to keep the men compliant. We had bank records showing a clear pattern of fraud. Marcus Rodriguez reviewed everything and smiled for the first time since I'd met him. "This is good," he said. "This is really good. With a pattern this clear, we can make a case for organized fraud. Wire fraud, conspiracy. We're looking at serious federal charges here." "What about the victims?" Michael asked. "What about what she'll do to them online?" "That's where it gets interesting," Marcus said. "If we can prove she used threats to silence victims, that's witness intimidation, extortion. The charges stack up fast. But we had a problem. Jessica and Patricia were careful. They'd never explicitly threatened anyone in writing. It was all verbal, all vague enough to have plausible deniability. We needed something more. That's when I had an idea. "Michael," I said, "I need you to message Jessica." "What?" "No. Mom, no way. Hear me out. You're going to tell her you want to talk. Just talk. You're going to wear a wire, and you're going to get her to admit what she did. She'll never admit it." "She will if you play it right. Tell her you're not angry. Tell her you just want closure. Tell her you're thinking about going to therapy, and you need to understand what happened. Make her think you're broken." Michael looked sick. "I don't know if I can do this." "I know you can. You're stronger than you think." It took 3 days to convince him. We practiced what he'd say, how he'd act, how to guide the conversation without making it obvious. David got us the wire from a friend at the bureau. Finally, Michael sent the message. "Hey, I know things ended badly. I've been in therapy, trying to work through everything. Would you be willing to meet for coffee? Just to talk. I need closure." Jessica responded within an hour. "Of course! I'm so glad you're getting help. How about tomorrow at the Starbucks on 5th? I listened from a surveillance van parked half a block away as Michael walked into that coffee shop. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. "Hey!" Jessica's voice came through the wire. Sweet, concerned, like she actually cared. "You look good, healthier." "I'm staying with my mom," Michael said. "It's been rough, but I'm managing. I'm sorry things got so bad between us. I really did care about you, you know." "I know. That's what makes it so hard to understand. The money, Jessica.
I never imagined
Why did
it
you
would
take
be
all the
possible,
money?"
but looking
A
back
pause.
now, it all
I held
feels
my
so
breath.
clear and
Michael,
meant to be.
we talked about
I am
this.
so grateful.
That money was for our future. For us. You know, I was just managing it. But it's gone. All of it. And you won't tell me where it went. I spent it on us. On the apartment. On groceries. On $42,000 on groceries? Her voice got sharper. "You know what? I don't have to explain myself to you. That's exactly the kind of controlling behavior that made me end things. I'm not trying to control you. I just want to understand." "There's nothing to understand. We had a joint account, we spent money, and now you're being paranoid about it. This is why I had to get out." I could hear the frustration in Michael's voice. She wasn't admitting anything. "We needed more. Your mom helped you, didn't she?" "Patricia, she told you how to handle the money. My mother is a successful life coach. She knows about finances. She knew about Derek too, right? And James? And Robert?" Silence. Long, dangerous silence. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Come on, Jessica. I found them. I talked to them. Same pattern every time. You move in, get access to accounts, take the money, then threaten to ruin them if they fight back. You're insane." Her voice was ice now. "You need serious help, Michael. I think you should leave." "Not until you tell me the truth." "The truth? Fine. The truth is, you were a sucker. You and all the others. You were so desperate for someone to love you that you'd believe anything. You'd give me anything. And yeah, my mom and I figured out a system. It's not illegal to accept gifts from a boyfriend. It is if you lie to get them. It is if you threaten people to keep them quiet. Good luck proving that." I could hear her standing up, grabbing her purse. "And by the way, if you try anything, if you go to the police or a lawyer or anyone, I will destroy you. I have 500,000 followers who believe every word I say. One post from me, and your life is over. Your job, your friends, your reputation, all of it. Gone. Just like Derek. Just like all of them." You ruined Derek's life. I didn't ruin it. He ruined it by being stupid enough to fight back. That's what happens when you cross me, Michael. Ask any of your little friends. See if any of them were dumb enough to press charges. Spoiler alert, they weren't. Because they knew what would happen. That's extortion, Jessica. She laughed. Actually laughed. No, sweetheart, that's consequences. Now get out of my sight before I call security. In the van, I looked at David and Marcus. They were both smiling. Got her, David said. Wire fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, extortion, witness intimidation. Marcus counted off on his fingers. She just confessed to everything. We called the FBI that afternoon. Because this had crossed state lines, because it involved wire fraud and multiple victims, it was federal jurisdiction. The agents listened to the recording and moved fast. 2 days later, federal agents arrested Jessica Martinez and Patricia Williams at their apartment downtown, the same apartment Michael had paid rent on for a year. I watched the arrest from across the street. Watched Jessica being led out in handcuffs, still beautiful, still confident, probably thinking her lawyer would get her out in a few hours. She didn't know what was coming. The federal prosecutor was a woman named Sarah Chen. No relation to David, but equally brilliant. She'd built her career on fraud cases. This is going to be a slam dunk,
as the sun
she
set
told
on
us
that
in her
distant
office.
horizon, I
The
knew my
recording
life
alone
would
is
never be the
enough,
same.
but with the
It was a
pattern of
moment
victims,
pure,
the bank
unadulterated
records,
clarity.
the messages from Patricia coaching her daughter, they're going to prison. How long? Michael asked. Wire fraud carries up to 20 years per count. We have 6 victims, 6 counts. Add in extortion, conspiracy, witness intimidation. If they're convicted on everything, we're looking at serious time. 15 to 20 years, minimum, if the judge runs them concurrent, could be much longer if consecutive. Michael sat back in his chair, looking dazed. How's the social media? I asked Sarah Chen. She grinned. Oh, you're going to love this. When news broke about the arrests, people started digging. Turns out Jessica had been buying fake engagement, fake followers, fake everything. The influencer community turned on her immediately. Her sponsors dropped her within hours. Her accounts have been suspended for violating terms of service. And Derek Thompson? He posted his own video, his story, with receipts. She pulled up her phone and showed us. Derek's video had 3 million views. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive. The narrative flipped, Sarah said. Jessica went from sympathetic influencer to predatory scammer overnight. Her followers are demanding refunds for products she endorsed. Brands are threatening lawsuits. It's a complete implosion. Good, I said quietly. The trial took 4 months to prepare. All 6 victims testified. The evidence was overwhelming. Jessica's lawyer tried to argue it was all a misunderstanding, that she genuinely believed the money was gifts, that she'd never meant to threaten anyone. The jury didn't buy it. They deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Patricia got 12 years, Jessica got 18. When the verdict came down, I watched Michael's face. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't celebrating. He just looked exhausted. It's over, he said. It's over, I confirmed. Later that night, we went back to my house. Michael had been staying with me for 4 months now. He'd started seeing a therapist, started working out again, started looking like my son again instead of a ghost. Mom, he said as we sat in the kitchen, why didn't you tell me? About the FBI? I poured us both tea. When your father got sick, I wanted to leave that life behind. I wanted to be just a mom, just a teacher, something simple and good. But you went back to it. For me, I'd do anything for you, sweetheart. You know that. He was quiet for a moment. I should have told you sooner. About Jessica. About what was happening. Probably. But shame is a powerful thing. It makes us hide when we should be asking for help. I was so stupid. You were in love. There's a difference. I reached across the table and took his hand. Do you remember when you were 8 and those kids were bullying you at school? He smiled slightly. You marched into that principal's office like an avenging angel. I told you then what I'm telling you now. Nobody hurts my kid and gets away with it. Nobody. I don't care who they are or how powerful they think they are. You mess with my family, you mess with me. Former FBI agent me. Exactly. We sat there in comfortable silence, drinking tea, watching the snow fall outside the window. Somewhere across town, Jessica was in a cell, probably still not quite believing how completely her world had fallen apart. Probably still thinking she'd find a way out. She wouldn't. What now? Michael asked. Now you heal. You rebuild. You move on. The apartment's in foreclosure. My credit's ruined. Credit can be fixed. You're staying here until you're back on your feet. And before you argue, remember that I'm a 62-year-old former FBI agent who just took down a fraud ring. You really want to fight me on this? He laughed. Actually laughed. The first real laugh I'd heard from him in months. New ma'am. Smart boy. 3 months later, Michael moved into a new apartment. Not as fancy as the one he'd lost, but it was his. Actually his, deed and all. The money was never recovered. Jessica and Patricia had spent most of it, but the prosecutor's office helped Michael file for restitution, and he'd get payments from whatever money they made in prison jobs. It wouldn't be much, but it was something. Derek Thompson started a support group for victims of romance scams. Michael joined. They became friends. As for me, I went back to my quiet, retired life. Garden club on Thursdays, book club on Tuesdays, dinner with Michael every Sunday. But I kept David Chen's number in my phone, just in case. Because sometimes the people we love need protecting. Sometimes they need someone who knows how to fight back. Sometimes they need someone who remembers that beneath the cardigan and the reading glasses and the gray hair, there's still a woman who spent 23 years putting criminals behind bars. Jessica Martinez is up for parole in 2038. Her mother, 2035. I'll be 82 by then. I'm planning to be at every single parole hearing. With evidence, with testimony, with every victim who's willing to speak. You don't mess with my kid and get a second chance. Not on my watch. The other day, Michael called me to tell me he'd started dating someone new, a teacher from his gym, someone kind and normal who has her own apartment and her own bank account and no interest in his money. I'm taking it slow, he said. Good. You should. And Mom? I already told her about you. About what you did. Oh? What did she say? He laughed. She said she's terrified to meet you. Smart woman. I told her you're actually a sweetheart. I am. To people who don't hurt my family. She got that message loud and clear. As I hung up the phone, I looked out my kitchen window at the bird feeder I'd put up last spring. A cardinal was perched there, bright red against the gray winter sky. I thought about Jessica, in her cell, probably still not understanding how a kindergarten teacher had destroyed her entire operation. Still not understanding that mothers are dangerous creatures when you threaten their young. Still not understanding that sometimes the quiet ones are the ones you should fear most. I smiled and went back to my crossword puzzle. Life was good, and if someone tried to hurt my boy again? Well, I still had that FBI training, still had those connections, still had that very particular set of skills that I'd honed over 23 years of taking down people who thought they were untouchable. People forget that mothers don't retire, we just shift assignments. And our most important assignment never ends. Protecting our kids, no matter what, no matter who we have to become to do it. That's the job. And I'm very, very good at my job.